it may have affected the diets of Asian American students. But first, I wanted to tell you a little story of myself. So I went to 5 different elementary schools within the K through 6, 7 years. And so my main concern as a young student was to fit in. One day in 4th grade, my friends decided they no longer liked the school lunches and that they would bring their own. Who am I to argue? Of course, I'm going to bring my lunch to school too. The next day, I brought a little Tupperware container full of rice, pork, and veggies, and all of my friends brought sandwiches and chips. So I felt a little left out. They definitely did not make me feel that way. This is something that I felt on my own accord. As we were talking about our lunches, one friend mentions that how our classmate Sanjay always brought his Indian food to school and how much it just stunk up the entire cafeteria. To me, I thought it smelled great, but who am I to argue? So I waited until my mother took me to an American supermarket and I begged her for bread, sandwich meat, and cheese, which is kind of silly because most kids beg for chips, ice cream, cookies. Not me. I just wanted sandwich materials. So I finally got it. The rest is history. And the first time I looked back at the story, I thought I was being a silly child for wanting sandwich materials. But I later learned through classes that I took at CSUMB that I wasn't being a silly child. I was actually undergoing acculturation by the means of peer pressure. So that brings me to my episode topic, and today I'm going to talk about the American diet, obesity and being overweight, the Asian American diet, and acculturation. So let's start it off with the American diet. When I first saw this graph that I took from the Dietary Guidelines for Americans, I thought it was a little daunting to read at first, but basically orange is bad and blue is good. So as you can see, there's a lot more orange than there is blue. Over 80% of Americans are not consuming enough vegetables and dairy. About 75% of Americans are not consuming enough fruits or oils. On the other end of the spectrum, we have over 80% of Americans over-consuming sodium, and there's an overconsumption of saturated fats and added sugars. Now you may ask, what can this type of diet lead to? It can lead to being overweight or being obese. As you can see, at 2 to 5 years, the prevalence of obesity is just under 9%, which isn't that high. But as the age increases, the prevalence of obesity increases. At 20 years old, we have more than 1 in 3 Americans being obese. As you can see on this graph right here from the CDC, between 1999 and 2014, the increase of obesity in youth and adults is a steady increase, so we can see that this trend is not going anywhere. Now let's talk about the Asian American diet. On a daily basis, Asians consume a staple of rice or noodles, fruits, vegetables, and fish or seafood protein. On a weekly basis, we consume sweets, and that's an indulgent thing. If you consume it on a daily basis, you're no longer indulging. This is part of your dietary habits. On a monthly basis, we consume red meat. It's not consumed as often because research suggests that red meat is not processed the same way as other proteins are processed in your body. So I wanted to show you a little bit of the Asian foods that you may see. So if you came over to dinner at my house tonight and my mom was making dinner for you guys, this is what you guys would get. You guys would get your own bowl of rice, the staple of course, at least 2 to 3 sides of vegetables, and in the middle we're going to have a broth. Sometimes it's vegetable-based, this one is fish-based, and of course the fish protein on the side. These are other Asian meals that you can find in different parts of Asia, but there are 43 Asian countries, so we're not just going to get into that today. All right, so now I want to talk about acculturation. But before I talk about acculturation, I wanted to talk about these actresses on the screen. All 3 of these actresses are Caucasian females portraying Asian characters. I want to talk specifically about the Emma Stone character, mainly because the character that she plays is half Chinese and part Hawaiian, and she's an actual person. It's based on a true person, so this is a notable figure in the Asian American community. Now, how do you think Asian American students at a young age feel when they are watching movies? This is Doctor Strange, Aloha, this came out in 2016, and Ghost in the Shell, that's coming out later this year. How do you think they feel when they're watching these movies and there are Asian characters, but they're not even being played by Asian actors. So acculturation is the borrowing of traits, ideas, or habits from another cultural group. But when does it become too much? Well, it becomes too much when you're getting overweight. So acculturation, there's a study in 2009 that suggests that Asian American students that speak English at home have a higher level of acculturation. Those with a higher level of acculturation have a higher chances of having a higher BMI. Also, a different study conducted in 2010 shows that Asian American females are more likely to have depressive symptoms and body image dissatisfaction than any of their peers. Which brings me to my field research. I asked 28 Asian American students between the grades 2 through 8 what their favorite meals, what their favorite snacks are, how they feel like they were being portrayed in the media. This is some of the things that they had to say. They said that they felt that Asians are being treated like nerds, midgets, and weirdos. We are supposedly weird with our foods and traditions. I'd like to have more Asian food and people. I do not think that more Asian people on TV. It sucks, and people make fun of us. I don't see a lot of Asian people in the media, but when I do, I'm happy because I think I have a chance to be on the media. But sometimes people think that Asians have Asian eyes, and they make fun of it. So you see, it's not all bad, but it's not all good. 75% of these students, their favorite snack are chips. There was only one student who answered a healthy snack, which was yogurt. Over 80% of these students prefer to eat American meals over Asian meals. And as we saw earlier, that's not always the most nutritious route. So that brings me to my recommendation. This is what I would suggest, and this is something that I intend on doing in my future classrooms, making an all about me poster, which has been done before, time and time again. Mine's just a little bit different. All of the students are going to present at the beginning of the school year, but each week a different student will be highlighted. And at the beginning of the day, during the warm-up routine, or maybe after lunch when everybody's still trying to settle down to get your brains going back again into the academic situation, we have different parts of the poster will be highlighted on different days. So my favorite Mondays, we talk about your favorite foods. What's in it? Where can you find it? Who makes it? Why do you like it? If the students can't fill up the entire 5 minutes, this is a good time for question and answering so that we can get to know each other as a class a little bit better. Traditions and Value Tuesdays. So this doesn't go on that long, but this also opens up a chance for students to realize even though we may be a little bit different, we have a lot of similarities in our values or in our traditions at home. Where in the world Wednesday is when we talk about where in the world are we from. I wrote that my ethnicity is Vietnamese American, so I'm going to be talking about Vietnam and a little bit of Garden Grove, which is a city that I'm from in Southern California. Then, think about it Thursday. Think about it Thursday is about kindness. What kindness act did you do this week or over the summer? And how do you think this makes the other person feel? On Friday, we have Feeling Smart Friday. What is the most important thing that you learned over the summer or this week? And how will you take what you learned in the future? So this would increase, because students are going to be standing up in front of the classroom, this will strengthen public speaking, it will strengthen their critical thinking skills, and it would create a better bond and friendship in the classroom. Embracing the diversity in the classroom would create a more comfortable learning environment for all students. And that's something that we all want, right? We all want students to have a comfortable learning environment. We all want them to learn and succeed. And I think this would definitely help. So, do we have any questions? Oh. Yes, go ahead.
Were your cultures or values ever celebrated in any of your classes growing up?
That's a great question. Thanks for that question. She asked, were my cultures ever valued or celebrated in the classroom growing up? And unfortunately, the answer is no. I went to 5 different elementary schools, and some of them had a high Vietnamese population in those schools, but it still was not recognized or celebrated, and the Lunar New Year is a huge, celebration and holiday for us, but it was not mentioned at all.
Could you help me connect the dots? How does your recommendation deal with the diet of Asian American students?
That's a great question, thank you. She asked, how does my recommendation deal with the diet of students? Well, on Mondays, we talk about my favorite foods. A lot of times, I understand that students aren't allowed to bring in foods because of dietary restrictions. So this opens up the conversation for students to say, for example, I put my favorite foods is bungbalhue, bulgogi, and ceviche. So some of you guys, you might not know what bungbalhue is or bulgogi, but you know what ceviche is, and we can relate on that. And this just helps embrace diversity. It's telling you that I respect your culture, I understand your culture, and I love it. Any other questions?
One more. Yay, Brett.
I was thinking about it. So in regards to my favorite Monday, if you saw that a child was having a lot of added sugar in their diet, like, they were saying their favorite snacks was like Snickers, candy, and all that kind of stuff, is there a way that you would incorporate, encouraging having a good diet, encouraging lots of fruits and veggies, and, maybe even varieties from their different cultures of their classmates without shaming?
That is a great question. Thank you for your question. Her question is basically if a student chooses to put my favorite is, let's say, pizza or something that's not really healthy, how would I handle the situation? Well, definitely, I do agree that students should have their own opinion, and that's very important that their opinion is heard. So if their favorite food is pizza, I would just ask them, like, oh, where do you get your pizza from? Oh, do you make it at home yourself? Do you use real ingredients? And then I would try to push that idea that, hey, you like pizza, but we can make pizza healthy. Yes, thank you. One more back there.
Have you seen or heard of any research relating the way that our body, like our physiological digestion of foods from our culture, because our bodies have been kind of used to that through ages? You know how certain cultures have certain staples in their diet? Have you seen any research on that?
Yeah, so the question was about hereditary foods, I guess you can say, eaten in the culture. I have seen some research on that. Unfortunately, I do not know enough to give you an answer right now, but I do believe that it is important for you to consume the foods that your parents and grandparents, generations beyond, have been consuming because that's what your body is used to. Just like how some groups are more susceptible to having diabetes, so they need to protect it in a certain way. Yes.
Can you share with the audience a little bit about bitter melon?
Oh, okay. The question was about bitter melon. It's a Southeast Asian vegetable, and it is horrible for your taste buds, but amazing for your body. It's something that I've tried to eat again and again. It just doesn't work. I've tried. I'll take like a little nibble, and my body rejects it or something. I don't know. Yeah. Anything else you want to know about bitter melon?
Lots of cultures.
Yeah, lots of cultures do eat it. Vietnamese people definitely eat it. A lot of Asians, Southeast Asians, eat it, and it's really good for you. It is something, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it to students just because they already don't like vegetables, and I feel like if they're going to try to eat bitter melon, it's just going to make things worse, and they're like, nope, nothing green, never again. All right, well, thank you for your time.